right now.
Oh, here we go.
Inspiration Nation. Hello, Lee Kemp here for another week on a podcast. Jose and Ryan both with me. How are we doing, guys?
Yeah,
Very good.
thank you.
Yeah, brilliant. I just want to give Clara a shout out. Hey, Clara, you're now on the podcast live. If you listen back to it when it goes up on live, which is probably by the end of this week, you'll be actually be able to listen to me calling your name out live on the podcast. So go listen to it and see what you think. Lovely. Thanks, Clara. Clara says, "Ooh, nice. That's sick." That's what Clara said.
Anyone else wants to get involved in that? Jose Noya, Inspiration Nation. Stick it in your Google machine, follow on YouTube, follow on TikTok. Sorry, cutting on, Jose, but want to make sure as many people as want to get involved, and we are live on both right now. And this week, much to him pretending that he doesn't know what's going on, it is Ryan Boniface up to the platform with a subject for this week. So, what are we talking about?
I've got this subject, and I'm not convinced we've not spoken about it before. So
Okay.
at first I was like, "Oh yes, it'd be great," and then the more I'm looking at it, the more I think maybe we've spoken about it
I'm
before.
going to get our history and have a little
Okay.
squeeze.
The quote is, "It is better to be hated for what you are than to be loved for being somebody you're not."
So it's better to be hated for what?
Come on, Grandad, here we go.
Yes.
Better to be hated
Yep.
for what you are or who you are.
For who you are.
Well, the quote is what you are,
Okay, what you are. Yep. Okay.
and to be loved for being someone you are not.
Oh, I like that. Loved for someone you're not. Okay, that's really cool. Okay, yeah. Thanks,
This,
Mike.
this quote, I think it's quite a popular quote. I hear it or see it. I don't know. It might be because I'm looking for it, but I feel like I see it semi regularly. It originates, I think, from a French author called André Gide, and it reflects his philosophy on individuality, self-expressionism, and the importance of being true to oneself despite societal pressures.
Like that.
How does it sit with you guys initially?
Do you want to go firstly, or?
Yeah,
I think Lee's researching.
I am researching. You are quite right. Just getting a quote up. I also did a quick check on title and subject, and I can't see a reference to this. So we might have touched on it, but we definitely haven't done this specific quote in our previous 287 episodes, all available at inspirationnation.org.uk. I like this. I'm a big. I would like to say this is something I'd impart on people. There's opportunity for the quote about people, especially as you get older and you get more comfortable being yourself. I've talked previous podcasts back about that kind of desire to be accepted and trying to fit in with other people and all that stuff, which doesn't lead to happiness ultimately. So I think ultimately leaning into who you are and being comfortable with who you are and doing what you want is the right thing. And you can't be led by other people. Again, this all comes with that caveat that you shouldn't be a doorknob to people. And you should see how I got around the spelling thing, the swearing filter there. You shouldn't be, that shouldn't mean you're just an arse to people or whatever else. But as long as you're being you're not impacting other people, you can't be, what you do can't be there to make sure other people think you're doing a good thing or like you or whatever else. And I think absolutely that being, hated for what you are rather than loved for what you're not, I think it's a great piece of advice, and that message of being comfortable with who you are, a lot more people should be on board with that. Probably
Love
said
that.
the same thing 3 times there, but I really like this one.
Yeah, I like it. On this, Clara's just saying, I've got an outlet from Clara. She's really enjoying that this has got her name shouted out, and it's her birthday tomorrow. So happy birthday, Clara!
Happy
And
birthday.
also, actually, Clara just said, "This is bloody inspirational." Wow! So, Clara, don't forget to like the live as well. Keep liking that button. Press on the screen. Like this live. Who's here? Like live. Harvey Kennett, welcome to the show. Everyone, welcome to the show. Appreciate you. I really like this because I think let's go back to the quote of, "It's better to be hated for what you are than to be loved for someone you're not." Something along those lines, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So you're being
Yeah.
true to yourself, which is and it's. Lee touched on it, and you have mentioned it before, Lee. So I remember you talking about when you were a lot younger, you sort of went along and you sort of.
I mean, it's
bumped
not.
about
Let's not
it.
say a lot younger. I don't think there's. I'm not old enough to be a lot younger yet. But when I was younger,
Well, we can let Ryan be the judge of that, and I'm sure Ryan's got some views on that himself. Yeah, and I agree with this, and it's taken me a while to be my true self. And I truly am very lucky that what you see here is what I'm like. We were talking, and I love personal development. And I talk to people about personal development, and I love it, and I don't care what people think about it, because it's what I really enjoy doing. And I used to love playing computers and stuff like that back in the 80s as well. Thank you for liking Life Class, liking away. That's fantastic. Um, and I used to be scared of owning up, and I used to call you geeks back in the day. And Lee, you referenced this actually back in the day. Where would I be at school? In the 80s, when I was at school, being a geek was really frowned upon.
70s.
Well, let's just leave it at that.
All right. In the 80s,
Let's
leave
it that. Let's 80s child.
Yeah.
But you were called a geeks group, right? And I loved it, and I hung about with friends that we called the term geeks, right? We love computer games. We love playing computer games. We were like all the new like to get into new games like Commodore 64s and ZX Spectrums, and later on Commodore Amiga and stuff like that. But we weren't the cool kids. So when I used to play football, I was quite lucky, because that helped me get in with the cooler kids. But I still loved this whole thing. There was always that little bit of tension at school where I wanted to go what I loved, but then I'm playing football as well, so there's always that tension. And yeah, I'm glad to say that I got through those periods, and now I'm not so much into computer games now. I still love an old computer game, but not so much. But I just love my personal development, and I learned from that just to be yourself. And like it says here, it's better to be yourself, isn't it? But if you're fake, then it's just empty. You just don't have any direction. Again, also being yourself helps you make choices, and it's all about purpose. And if you know who you are, and you know what you want to start achieving, the choices become easier, because you know what you can say no to and what you say yes to. Because everything you say yes to, you don't have as much time to do the things you want to do, right? So this gives you a real nice true North Star, and I love this quote, Ryan. So this is what it's initially meant to me, but Ryan, I'll throw the ball back to you. But thanks for this. I really do like the subject. But yeah, you got your view and how you thought about this, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, you both touched on some of the 6 kind of key things that I think I drew out of the quote, and I think Lee, you referenced there that we spoke a few weeks ago about age and societal differences in terms of pressures and things like that as you get older, and caring less around wearing designer clothes and having a nice whatever, and more about what works for you and what fits into kind of your life model and things like that. And that's
I'm a big
definitely
fan of my black Primark t-shirt I'm wearing, by the way, just to put that out there.
And that's absolutely fine, of course.
That's all, of course.
Of course it is. But I think for me, that conversation kind of resonated quite well, and it's one of the reasons why I picked this quote. But I think there are. I think I've said it before, but I'm at a point where I think I'm at that middle ground between. You two will say I'm not, but I feel like I'm at that point in that middle ground where I'm halfway between being too young for things and halfway between being too old for things now. I think when you reach around the 30 mark, you start to be too old for the cool kids and too young for the old guys. And you kind of are just what you are. And there's definitely certain scenarios and certain thoughts I have that lean me towards moving on to that next part of my life. And there are certain other things that we all do, is from what I can work out, is that we all try and cling on to the things that make us feel young and help us feel younger than maybe what we are. And that's very ironic, I know, coming from somebody that's still in their 20s. But I think what I'm trying to say is I'm starting to understand what people mean when they say things like that. And I've kind of broken the quote down to my meaning into 6 different categories. And Joe, you definitely spoke about one, and you touched on it massively. And I think what I'm trying to get at is, especially younger people, they struggle to come to terms with the accuracy of the quote. I think a lot of people will say, when they're younger, will go, no, this is who I am true to myself, I am wanting to be this type of person, when in fact, in the real truth, that isn't necessarily the case. And I think as you get older, you kind of come out the other side of that and pretty much go, too tired and I'm too fed up to pretend to be something that I'm not. I think that's what most adults tend to claim, that that's what happens to them. And I think the reason why people struggle with coming to terms with the quote and the kind of the reasoning behind it is there's a fear of rejection. And that's kind of what you touched on, Joe, in some aspect, in that you want to, people have a overarching desire to be liked. Nobody wants to not be liked. No matter how much they protest that they don't care about things like that, people want to be liked and be appreciated and be accepted. And I think being ostracized and being left out of different scenarios or events or things like that is it harms our feelings, and b it obviously harms self-confidence and things like that. So sometimes it's easier to pretend to be something you're not for that acceptance. um Social expectations, I think society often pressures individuals to conform to certain norms. And I think again that's where I think you really hit the nail on the head, Joe, with kind of what things were like for you at school. And um you kind of had, I wouldn't say the best of both worlds. That probably wouldn't be the way that you described it, but you had a view of both worlds, so to speak, in that um, obviously you're able to play sports and you were considered to be cool because you can play sports, but also what really interested you was doing stuff that I think we can now all say is nerdy and not be ashamed to say that it's nerdy, and that's absolutely fine. Um, but in those days, and I think even more so, not even more so, but just as much, in my time when I was at school and things like that, that's still very much the same. Um, and I think people, again, it kind of roots back to people just want to be accepted and understood. Um, I'll do the third one and I'll throw it back out to you guys. And another thing is that humans have a huge need for validation. Um, I know I certainly do. I like to understand that who I am, and what I do is um, right, or how things should be, whether that's in a professional standard or um, even in a social or friend-like standard. I think some people in friendship groups don't care what people think, and there are other people in friendship groups that are careful that what they say is accepted and appreciated. And I think we've all, well, I certainly have. I don't know about you two, but I've certainly been in group chats with a lot of people on like WhatsApp or maybe even sometimes Teams, and you try and throw a joke out here and there, and if you get no bites on it, you feel a bit like a lemon. But if you do get bites and people are laughing and they find the joke or whatever funny, then you feel validated, and it gives you that serotonin boost that we all crave from our peers and people around us. But they're the first three things that I kind of draw out of the quote myself. Do you have any personal experiences with those that you've not touched on, or anything that you want to add to that?
That you, Lee? Anything?
I just, as well, we'll give a gap in it before it goes on too long, but there's a few good quotes coming in on TikTok. You want to shout them out in a minute. And I think you're right, Ryan. It's always that balance, because I think I was talking with someone about this in the real world outside the podcast in a week as well, and it is that doing things for you and being comfortable that you're doing them for you is a massive thing. That's really what overcomes that hurdle when you're doing what is right for you, what is your purpose, what makes you happy, what you enjoy, and not worrying what anyone else thinks about it. And I think that's part of that real path to fulfillment, I think. But that doesn't mean, you said like the human need for validation, and I'm in that place where I do what I like for me, and not in a screw everyone fingers up to you, just say I'm comfortable doing what I like to do. But that doesn't mean that I don't like someone to say, oh, that looks really good, or you've done great with that, or great job at work, and that's all still really nice to hear, and it's really important, it's part of the matrix. But I think it means more when you're not looking at it through that lens of validation as well. I think it kind of adds to that feeling that you get from it. So it's still part of it, it's still part of our human need, but I think that not being the driver to do stuff, potentially means there's more opportunity for it to happen sometimes as well.
Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that.
I agree.
Jose, jump on our TikToks before we lose them.
Yeah, I just want to just shout out some TikToks. I've got Clarky's in the house. Thank you, Clarky. Look at this. Look at this. I mean, thanks, Clara. I mean, it's been brilliant. Clarky's here. Just here. I just do what I want to do. I don't drink or anything. Just focus on my goals. He says never really had any friends through school, but wasn't too worried about it because I knew they wasn't. I think probably their type of people. He said. What else? Let's have a look. Clara, I want to know why society has created these social norms when everyone is naturally different. And then Clara says, I'm not bothered. To be honest, about validation, I just do what I think is right. If you're busy, I think if you're busy thinking about that will hamper you. Again, it's by overthinking, I suppose, there. So some really good points there from
On that,
Clarky and
on that
Clara.
societal norms, just to throw in a view, I think that's
Yeah.
like we're naturally tribal as people, aren't we? You know what it's
Yeah.
like? I told a story years ago in a podcast about in an office, and you had half the team in one room and half the team in the other, and it became, you know, they were more loyal to the people in their room than the ones in the other room, and it became all right to not like the people in the. And it's like, you know, football clubs wearing your badge. We gravitate to these things where we're in tribal, and I think as you get older and maturer and, you know, start to know yourself more, some of that maybe goes away, but I think it's that tribal bit that kicks in that creates all those social norms where you start to gravitate and stronger personalities draw more people in and all that stuff. But I'd say, because I think Clara said on another comment about struggling to keep up with them, is it's not, you'll, again, it's as it happens as you go older, you realise that they're less and less important, and it puts so much stress on. If it's not right for you, it's not right for you. And I think we live in an age where that's far more acceptable now than it's ever been. Certainly, like you said, Joe, about there was definitely a definition of normal in the 90s when I was at school. Same there, Fred. I think each generation it gets easier, but it's still definitely there from things that I see. And it's just that, again, it's just that inner confidence of being comfortable with yourself. And nothing's for forever. There's that thing about, you know, if you embarrass yourself at school, sticks with you forever, and it doesn't. It's all, everything's just water under the bridge over time, very, very quickly.
Yeah, I remember you saying, Lee, actually, because this really resonated with me when you said about, because the geek thing was, you know, a really big thing at school. And I remember you said about the Big Bang Theory and how that started to almost like make it really actually quite cool to be geeky. You know, it's quite cool. And I think there's definitely that element now. And I think there's definitely, much more of a pull on you can be your own person now with all the things that people are exposed to, which is good. And I know, you know, social media does get knocked a bit, and it is, you know, it can be really bad. Social media, like, you know, trying to get you to buy things you don't really need, and, you know, fake photos, all that stuff. And
Yeah,
you should look this up. But
absolutely.
also, there's other thing. There's another thing. You can find your tribe. This is the other thing. You can find your tribe on internet. You can find your geek club.
This
You
is
know,
it.
you can find your niches or self-development, for instance. And this, like doing this, we're finding our tribe here now on TikTok. You know,
And
people joining.
that
Go
ties
on.
in there,
So
and
you're
it
gonna
is,
say,
again, I just as commented again saying that it's okay to mould yourself around the type of people you associate with, and that's exactly what you're saying. You'll find your people you're comfortable with, and it's, I would say, you know, you should look for people you look up to, admire, or want to be with, and pick those bits and mould yourself around it, and, you know, find what is your people. But there is no one version of normal. You know, there are lots of different groups of people, and I think certainly I felt when I was younger, there's this one archetype of normal that everyone gravitated to, and there's absolutely not. There's so many different versions of that, and that's it. Find your one and find your people.
yeah, I love that. And I think Clara's asked a question, actually. Can I put it to you? This is Clara said, would you say the fear of not fitting in is completely irrational? Is the question. What do we think?
I'm not sure it's irrational. I think it's. I think. I think everybody has a desire to want to feel inclusivity and feel like they have a peership, regardless of whether that's kind of professional or outside of work. And I think um, everybody is different, and we accept that. But everybody wants their version of different to be what everybody else thinks. And I think that's the challenge.
Yeah, and you touched on earlier on when you said about rejection. It's that same thing. So that exactly how it was worded about fitting in. Yeah, the fear of not fitting in, the fear of rejection, all of that. Again, it's that natural. I think that there's safety in numbers, isn't there? And that's got to be deep within our psyche and our instincts, and that's what drives it. So it's not constructive, and actually you become a lot better, more rounded person when you can control those fears, and I think that's the best word for it. So it's not irrational. I think it's human nature, but it's just as you find yourself, you become more comfortable with what those things are.
I think as you get older, as I did, you understand that you're not the only person to have the same
Yes.
fears about what you feel, and then you start to realize that actually, even though you are different, you are also incredibly normal,
Yeah,
unless you're not.
I,
You know what I mean?
I used to remember, that's the thing I used to really like years ago, like with stand up, because, you know, as humans, we all have kind of eccentric behaviours we do. And like you were saying, Ryan, you probably think you're the only one that do it. And some of the best comedy is where they really reference those kind of eccentric behaviours we all have, but we don't really talk about, which is really funny, but at the same time also reassuring to be like, oh, I'm not the only one who does. I can't think of an example right now, but that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah. I love that. I think there is a desire, like you say, to want to be part of a group. But I think what I love about today is you can find your people. That's what I like about this. Like,
Yes.
is usually something you can find. You don't have to like stick with whatever what it was school or where your local town, right? You can go find your people. You can go and join some forums that love the same stuff you love. Like, I can go on social media now and just type in personal development, and I can find umpteen accounts that are actually all about personal development. And I'm just going to eradicate the ones that don't suit me and just follow the ones that I feel like inspire me, right? So we can shape our world a lot more now than we think, right? I think it's just being conscious about it. So I love that, class. Such a good question.
I
Really
think,
love that.
So,
And Clark, you speak. Go on.
oh no, go
I was
on,
going to,
Jose, and then we'll
I was
loop
just going
back
to
to
say,
Ryan's other 3
it's a
points.
real good conversation. It's a real good conversation going on TikTok right now. Clark is talking about there are people who judge us. All the power is in your hands, whether you care or not. So there's that thing about your self efficacy there, where you can choose, right? I love that.
yeah,
So we can. And so, yeah, I really love that. Thanks, Clarky, Clara. Thanks, Clarky and Clara, for really adding to the conversation there. Yeah, so yeah, it's been great. TikTok's been really great today. Like, fantastic. 3.7K as
I
well. I like
I
that.
think the questions that are coming in and what we've just spoken about over the last couple of minutes really epitomizes what number 4 is, and that relates to internal conflict.
Mm,
There's a huge desire to want to be your own person and
mm,
be unique, but there's also another part of you that wants to be accepted, and it kind of does tie into the other parts of it as well. But there can be a real struggle between wanting to be true to yourself and the fear of the consequences of doing so. Again, is the easy example here is at school and showing individualism and uniqueness in an arena like that can be an invitation to not be a part of a group and to feel like you can be ostracized, and that's tough. And I think we've all been in situations probably when we were younger where we had to maybe quell what we thought or what we believed about something, perhaps to not feel the other end of that scale. And
mm.
even though authenticity leads to long-term fulfillment, I think it's something we can all kind of really agree on. The short-term discomfort of not being accepted can be difficult to endure or survive with.
Yeah,
Um,
100%.
yeah,
100%. I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you on that. Because even amongst friends, you might have a view and they're talking about something and you guys, I don't agree with that at all. So what do you do? Like, what do you do? Like, and these are friends that you might have for many, many years. You go, oh, what do I do? I'm not quite sure. Like, but you really have a strong view. Do you say it or do you not say it?
I know we try and tail the podcast topics to not always be about work, but what I would say I found confidence in being more truer to myself on things is the role that I do can sometimes be confrontational. The kind of
Mm,
mid-level or lower-level management roles that exist dealing with um, staffing issues or conflicts or issues around process or protocol or how we do things or why we do them has kind of helped me be a bit more natural in how I can challenge scenarios like you've just referenced, Joe, because time before gone, I'd just sit and be quiet about it, and what I believe is fine. I can just block out everything else, and that's okay. And I think getting the role that I have and developing professionally has helped me also massively develop personally, which I know makes a lot of sense, but that kind of epitomizes it and kind of talks about it.
yeah.
Um, Number 5, there's also cultural influence. In some cultures or environments, individuality isn't always celebrated. Sometimes it's better to fit the norm um, and just kind of be a plain Jane, if that's the right phrase, and just kind of fit into societal norms and do what is right, because the the fear of being anything else can often cause huge dramas um, in
Yes.
families and friend groups and things like that.
Family's a big one. Yeah, family's a big one, isn't it? And
Yeah.
yeah, go on, Brian. So what are you going to say?
Um, yeah, and yeah, that pretty much number 5 is summed up, and then number 6 is kind of one that I think is probably one of the most important ones. Is that being different creates a fear of vulnerability as well. Being true to yourself often means revealing aspects of your identity or your personality or of who you are that you've been scared to share before, or you've been kind of warned off being sharing before through different means or different reasons. And it can make you feel exposed, and a fear of being hurt. It's very easy if you're going to be if you're going to be different to everybody else. As I say, it's I think I use the word or phrase, it's an invitation to kind of feel ostracized or be made to feel ostracized, and that isn't always right. But that is how, especially when you're young, how the world can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think coming to terms with the quote and going through that change in life that I feel like I'm halfway getting through now takes a lot of self-confidence to truly trust that who you are or who I am as a person will be accepted, as long as I don't go too far with what my abnormalities might be, because we all have them, and I think that's fine. But sometimes it's more sensible to not share them. And I think what life has taught me is that there needs to be what life has taught me is that there is a line between what's acceptable to be different about and what perhaps is unacceptable to be open about being different about.
I think it comes out to that validation piece as well. It's you don't have to push what you are in people's faces. Just be you.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether people accept it, don't, anything. You're just doing you for you. Which again, like you said, is a journey to go on, and there's shades of grey within that. But like you said, all those things are things to be aware of and push through.
That's pretty much me. That's pretty much my list of notes.
I've loved this, Rob. I've loved this, Rob. I mean, of course, so much chat in the chat. I mean, Clarky's added so much here, being different, it's all about being different. Clara says nowadays, the average person is almost isolating. You need to have a standout factor, it seems. Well, being you is like just be you. You're a unique person, so that's what that's around. Thing is that the line is always, the thing is that the line is always changing one day, something except when it's, yeah, absolutely, Clark, you're right. So you just got to be you, because that's the consistent factor, right? That's you. And I can sort of reference, going on social media for the first time, going on YouTube for the first time, scared as hell. You're putting out what you believe in and out there on the internet, and you get judged left, right, and centre, right? But I had to grow to say, hey, look, you're not doing what I'm doing. Put yourself out there. I mean, no, Clarky does. He puts out his videos, but when you do that to the world, you are going to get those people that are not going to agree with you or going to support you. It's just natural. But how you brave and just find your tribe, I think, is the thing. Is being true to you. Is you will find the people that, are your people. It's just finding them. And I noticed Meg joined, so thanks, Meg, for joining. And Meg's been on the podcast before, so appreciate you. Thanks, Meg, for joining. Appreciate you there. And thanks, Clarky, for some really good comments here. And again, Clarky's throughout there said, no matter what you do, you get haters. You've got to just do what you do exactly as you said, Jose. And again, Clara says, jealousy is the core of hate in our society today. Look at this. There's some profound truth bombs hitting the old TikTok today. I love this. Anyway, there you go. Just thought I'd shut those out.
Great subject, Ryan, and great interaction. Goes there for those who are watching live with us now. If you just put Jose Noya Inspiration to Google, it will show you most importantly to YouTube, where the live will be up pretty much as soon as we are finished, as well as quite a lot big archive of them, and inspirationation.org.uk for the audio version as well to listen back to this. If you like what we're doing, just follow, like, subscribe on all those platforms as well. Share on social media, which is obviously easy for me to say, at listen TOIN on X. That's all the shilling stuff. So we better do some takeaways, I think, hadn't we?
No, just give a quick shout out because Wiku's joined. Wiku, like the live 20 million times as well. So Clarky's got the likes, Clara's got the likes, and now got Wiku liking the live. I mean, we're at 5.3 right now, and it's going up by the dozen. But yeah, I just want to say, give a shout out to Wiku. Not seen you in a while, Wiku. Thanks for coming along. Appreciate you. Yeah, good. Sorry.
Back on the takeaways, Jose. What are you taking away?
Be yourself. I loved what you just said. I think it cuts through everything. Just be yourself and make choices based on you and in your authenticity. That's mine. I really love that. Just think it cuts through everything's lovely. That's mine.
Ryan,
Sure.
for your subject, what is your key takeaway from all you brought in?
I'm actually going to steal something you said, and that is that um, if you think it matters now, it won't when you want to remember if it matters.
Quote, inspirational quotes by Lee Kemp. That's what we're here for. And I'm going to steal. It's the same. In the same thing. It's just love you for you. Just be happy with you who you are, and lean into that and enjoy what you enjoy.
Yeah, I love that. Enjoy what you enjoy. Love that. Yeah, 100%. Love that. Thanks, Clara. Really entered the conversation. There's lots of chat going on the TikTok. I think it's not as been as active as this is for a long while. So this has been fantastic. I've really enjoyed it. And thanks, Dave, Clarkey and Clara, for really, shouting this out. It's been brilliant.
Absolutely.
Yeah, anyway.
Great conversation, great thoughts. I say ultimately we are here just to try and inspire people by what inspires us. We want everyone to be the best, happiest, most fulfilled version of themselves, and hopefully this has done a bit of that for everyone out there. Again, Google machine, Jose Noya, Inspirational, YouTube and TikTok are the places to be. And check us out at inspirationnation.org.uk and on X at listen2in. Listen TOIN. All that left for me to do is to count us down. We'll be back again next week. 3, 2, 1. Inspiration Nation. Catch you guys later.
Catch you guys later. Thanks, TikTokers. Thanks, Clarky. Thanks, Clara. Thanks, Wiku. You've been amazing. Thanks, Mick, for joining as well. It's been fantastic. Really appreciate